In an industry that often glorifies dominance, boldness, and untouchable personas, Kim Seokjin, better known as Jin of BTS, quietly carves out a different path. He doesn't storm stages demanding attention or assert control through power plays. Instead, he stands at the center of the world's biggest music group with something far more rare: gentleness. And he proves, time and time again, that gentleness is not a weakness to be hidden, it is a strength to be embraced. Jin's softness is not performative. It doesn't ask for applause. It shows up in the way he checks in on the younger members, not with orders, but with questions. It reveals itself when he stays after performances to make sure no one feels left out. It glimmers in every quiet smile, every silly pun, every awkward but honest attempt to make someone laugh, especially when things feel heavy. In a group as intense and world-shaking as BTS, Jin is the emotional cushion that keeps everyone grounded. What makes Jin's gentleness powerful is that it comes from choice, not passivity. He chooses to respond with warmth when he could ignore. He chooses to remain patient when others would snap. And he chooses to open his heart, knowing full well that it makes him more vulnerable in the public eye. But he does it anyway because he knows that this kind of love, this kind of humanity, is what really matters at the end of the day. His fans feel this deeply. It's why people cry when he says something as simple as, "You've worked hard." Because when Jin says it, he means it. There's a certain kind of emotional safety in his voice, as if he's telling you, it's okay to breathe. You're doing your best. And in a world filled with noise and pressure and performative positivity, that kind of realness cuts through like sunlight in a storm. Jin has shown us that you don't have to raise your voice to lead. You don't have to be loud to be heard. You don't have to dominate to earn respect. True strength can look like care. It can sound like laughter. It can feel like a gentle presence beside you when everything else feels overwhelming. Even his public persona, often filled with dad jokes and playful arrogance, is wrapped in gentleness. It's never cruel or harsh. It's designed to lighten the mood, not steal the spotlight. His humor is never at someone else's expense. It's inclusive, warm, and perfectly timed. That kind of emotional intelligence isn't just rare, it's revolutionary. So when fans call him Seokjin Hyung, they're not just acknowledging his age or status. They're recognizing the kind of emotional leadership that's built not on fear, but on trust. The kind that says, "You're safe here." The kind that only someone as strong and soft as Jin could provide. At a time when it's easier than ever to build walls, Jin chooses to open doors. And that, perhaps, is his greatest power. He reminds us all, especially the young men watching him, that it's okay to be soft. That caring for others is not a sign of weakness. That the strongest people are not the ones who hide their hearts, but the ones who share them fully and fearlessly. Jin doesn't just make being gentle cool, he makes it powerful. And perhaps that's exactly why Jin's presence lingers long after the music fades. He's not just remembered for his vocals or his visuals, though both are undeniably stunning. He's remembered for how he made people feel, for how he comforted strangers across time zones, for how he carried a group on his shoulders without ever asking for credit, for how he made the act of being kind look like the most natural, unshakable strength in the world. In interviews, Jin has admitted that he doesn't always see himself as the most talented, that there were times he doubted his place in BTS. But what he may not fully realize is that his strength, his irreplaceable power, lies not in how high he can sing or how hard he can dance, but in the warmth he gives off like gravity. That's what keeps people coming back. That's what makes fans stay for years. That's why strangers cry watching him smile on a screen. Even in his military service, fans continued to send letters and draw art celebrating not just Jin the idol, but Jin the person. And when he returned, there was no need for flashy declarations or viral stunts. His presence alone was the comfort fans had been waiting for. He didn't need to say much, just standing there, waving, smiling, breathing, it was enough. Because when someone has given you years of quiet, consistent love, their silence still feels like a hug. Jin has taught a generation that masculinity doesn't have to be stoic, or harsh, or emotionally detached. That it can look like wiping tears, cooking a meal for someone tired, sending goofy emojis in a group chat, or holding back your own pain to be strong for others. Not because you're pretending, but because you love them. He doesn't scream, "Look how strong I am." He simply is. And that's the kind of strength the world desperately needs more of. The legacy Jin leaves behind isn't measured in awards or headlines. It's measured in the gentle ripple effect of his kindness, in the fans who treat each other more kindly because he showed them how, in the people who feel braver sharing their emotions because Jin made vulnerability feel safe. Oh yes, Jin is gentle. But don't mistake that for softness. Don't underestimate the quiet ones. His gentleness is made of steel. It's the kind of love that doesn't falter in chaos. It's the kind of comfort that doesn't ask for applause. It's the kind of presence that changes lives, not with force, but with unwavering warmth. And in a world that so often tells us to toughen up, Jin dares to tell us the opposite. It's okay to be soft. It's okay to care. It's okay to love loudly, quietly, because at the end of the day, gentleness, true, unshakable, fearless gentleness, might just be the strongest thing of all. And maybe that's what makes Jin's gentleness so unforgettable. It doesn't demand attention, but it holds your heart long after the moment passes. I am the thousands of fan cams, fan letters, and messages left in comment sections across the world. There's a recurring theme. Your words helped me survive. Your smile made me feel seen. You made me feel less alone. These are not just compliments. They're quiet testaments to a man who chose to walk softly through fame, leaving behind a trail of healing. As the world changes, and as BTS members explore their solo journeys, one truth remains. Jin's impact is permanent. Long after the glitter fades and the lights dim, people will remember the idol who didn't need to shout to be heard. The brother who didn't lead with pride, but with presence. The artist who didn't just sing to the world. He listened to it. He will be remembered not just as the worldwide handsome, a title that became a joke, but also an armor. He'll be remembered as the worldwide gentle, a figure who embraced the heavy responsibility of being a public figure by never forgetting what made him human. And in doing so, he reminded the rest of us of our own humanity too. So the next time someone wonders how an idol can mean so much to so many people, the answer is simple. Because Jin showed us that love doesn't need to be loud to be revolutionary. Because he taught us that gentleness is not the opposite of strength, it's the purest form of it. Because in a chaotic world, Jin didn't just stand tall, he stood soft. And we will never forget how that made us feel. Because when all is said and done, Jin didn't just shape the sound of a generation, he shaped its emotional vocabulary. He gave people permission to be tender in a world that often shames vulnerability. He let people know that you don't have to be the loudest to be loved, and that true connection doesn't require perfection. It requires presence. His way of caring, quiet, goofy, warm, and deeply human, redefined what it means to be a global star. He didn't let the weight of fame make him untouchable. He didn't let the pressure of being the eldest harden him. Instead, he made himself more available, more grounded, more real. And that, in a world of curated personas, feels like an act of rebellion. Perhaps that's why, no matter how many years pass or how many stages he leaves behind, fans will always carry him in their hearts. Because Jin was never just a performer. He was a presence, a feeling, a moment of comfort on a bad day, a laugh that made your chest feel lighter, a reminder that even amid the noise of the world, there is still someone who chooses to be soft, and in that softness, becomes unshakably strong. He didn't set out to be a role model. He just chose to be kind. He didn't strive to be everyone's older brother. He just showed up when people needed him, and somehow, without even trying, Jin became a lighthouse, steady, constant, guiding so many home. When fans shout, Seokjin Hyung, they're not just calling his name, they're calling for safety, for love, for the kind of strength that doesn't break, but bends with care. They're calling for the gentle storm that is Kim Seokjin, and wherever life takes him next, one thing is certain. The world will always need more people like Jin. People who remind us that the bravest thing you can be is kind.